Do you find programming a sequence in Xlights difficult, unsure of what effects to use to make it look the coolest, or straight up just hate sequencing and don't want to spend hours doing it? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how I program a sequence from start to finish, as well as how to make one quickly if you don't want to spend hours programming. So, let's get started. Hey everyone, thanks for watching How To Pixel, and if you're new here, this channel is all about pixels and awesome lighting displays. You can find tutorials on how to build your own light display, or build videos and behind the scenes of my show. If you're new to RGB pixels and don't know a ton about them, I recommend you check out this playlist right here. It has a couple of videos for beginners on how RGB pixels work, and it will help you get started on your journey to making an awesome light display. But anyway, today in this video, we're going to be talking about sequencing. If you don't know what sequencing is, it's just the act of programming your lights, putting them in a sequence together with or without music, and then you use all of that programming to send it to the lights to make them dance. Sequencing is probably the longest and sometimes even the trickiest part of putting together a whole light display. It could take days, weeks, or even months to program your light show, depending on how advanced you want it to be and how many songs and pixels you have. And it can be overwhelming because Xlights has a ton of different effects and settings you can use for your light show. If you don't know anything about Xlights, I really recommend you check out this video right here, or at least watch a little bit of it. It is almost 3 hours long, but it goes over how to use every single feature in Xlights. In the future, I may also have an updated version of that that's shorter. But moving on, one last thing before we get started is if you want to skip to any part of this video or any different section you want to see, feel free to use the time codes in the scrub bar and also in the description so you can skip to whatever part you want. So first, I'm going to give you some tips on what you should have or what you should do before starting a sequence. All of this in this video is what I personally do, but you may have your own completely different way of sequencing. There is no right or wrong way to sequencing at all. It doesn't matter if you suck at sequencing. In the end, everyone that comes to your light show is gonna love it because it's still cool that you can get all these lights to flash with or without music. But first, when sequencing, I recommend wearing headphones because it makes it a lot easier to hear all the different beats and sounds in the music track, which you definitely want to be able to hear when sequencing. It doesn't have to be any fancy or expensive type of headphones, just regular headphones that you can wear so you can hear the music. And then another thing, do not use a Bluetooth connection for your headphones. Make sure your headphones are wired into your computer. The reason for this is Bluetooth has a little bit of a delay, so your sequence won't be aligned with your music because you'll have a delay going to your headphones. So always make sure you have a wired connection. Next, this is optional, you don't have to have this, but if you can set this up, I recommend having 2 monitors on your computer when programming. It makes it a lot easier because you can have your music track and all of your settings and effects on one monitor and then have your house preview on the other monitor. Like I said, this is optional, and for the first year of the light show, I programmed with only 1 monitor. And then my third and final tip before starting is make sure if you're using music, you have it all edited before you start sequencing. It's usually good to make sure that your music track is at the correct volume and that there are no long pauses at the beginning or the end, because if you have multiple sequences and you go to play them for your show, there'll be a long pause of nothing and it might feel a little out of place. There are some different editing software you can use, but for something simple, I would just recommend 123apps.com. It's a simple website. You could trim the audio, add some fades to it, and adjust the volume. So those are the 3 things I recommend doing before making your sequence. But now let's hop on to Xlights and begin making our sequence. So here we are in Xlights. I have a song opened up right here. I have my effects all at the top, the effects settings here, layer blending here, layer settings here, the timeline here, the colors here. And I have 2 monitors like I said earlier, so my house preview is on my other monitor, but you could see it right here. I will attach it in this monitor in a second, but what I want to show you is what we have in this layout. What we have to work with and what we have to sequence. So we have 6 snowflakes at the top, we have a roof outline, 3 singing faces, we have a mega tree and a star, a wreath, window and door outlines, a garage outline. This is a giant screen that we are adding. Floodlights, candy canes, arches, we have a bunch of pea stakes down here. And then we have 5 mini trees with mini tree stars. If you're wondering what this little dot is right here, it's for the bracelets that we have. I'm not going to be programming that in this video because it's a little bit different than the rest. But if you would like to see how I program that, then check out this video up here about the bracelets. So what I'm doing for now, so you can see everything, is I put the house preview here. And I took out the layer settings during this part right here. I have it on my other monitor, and I'll bring it over if I make a change. But that way you can see everything. Now, this is a copyright-free audio track. This is a song that I'm using in my light show. It's a version of Jingle Bells by Tokyo Machine. It's like a upbeat EDM version. And the first thing I will do, or the first two things I'll do when I am making a sequence, is if I have any video that goes with it, like let's say this was a song from the Polar Express and I had Polar Express videos, I'd put that on the projector first. That way I can always see it while I'm sequencing. And then I'll also program the singing faces first as well, if there are lyrics for the song and I want to add them. This song does not have any lyrics, so I will not be programming those. If you'd like to see how I program singing faces, I'll also attach a video up here for that. So what I'll do first is I'll listen to the first about 30 seconds of the track and see how it sounds. And I'm going to play that for you as well so you hear what we have to work with. So right away, the first thing I notice is the bells right here, if you listen to those. I immediately think that that should be something flashing back and forth on one of the props. I'm not sure what. Either the floodlights or maybe like the two windows on the edge. When I'm sequencing an upbeat song like this, I like to start it off with not many lights on, and then when it gets to like the main part of the song, have all the lights come on at once for like a big feel effect. So that'd probably be like right here. Right here, or right around like there is probably where I have all the lights come on. But for the beginning, I think I'm gonna have two things flash back and forth. And then another thing is right here, you hear like another beat. I'm not really sure what it is. It sounds like another set of bells. And for that, I think I'm gonna either have that go on the mini trees or the candy canes, and like each candy cane flip back and forth for each beat of it. And meanwhile, while all this is happening, I think I'll have snow falling in the entire light background, or have like some few pixels on. That way it's not all complete blackness. So first I'm gonna put the snow on, and I'm gonna find where I should have the snow stop. So the snow is probably gonna stop like right here, where the beat goes. For now, I'll just put it there. I'm not sure if that's the exact correct spot where I want it yet, but... And then on my entire display group, I will put some sort of snow falling effect. Let me try snowflakes. Let's see how that looks. Now, right now, that doesn't look like a lot of snow, so I'm gonna increase it. I want, like, a lot of sparkles. And they are a little bit fast, so I'm going to slow down the speed of it. And I think I'm going to add some blue to there. Can you add multiple colors? I'm not sure. Maybe I'll try a different effect then. Let's try snowstorm, see how that looks. That's not really the effect I'm looking for. Maybe I'll try twinkle. Maybe if I think if I speed this one up, maybe turn down the lights a little bit and speed it up. Now that looks kind of cool. I don't want strobe on. Let's see how that looks with the music. Maybe slow it down a little bit. That looks good. And now I'm going to have something flash back and forth. I think it's going to be... Let me turn on this so you can see it. These two windows. Because I want to save the floodlights for the build-up right here. And right there have the floodlights fade on. So what I'm going to do for this, so I know each part when to turn on one of the windows, is I'm going to make a new timing. We're going to have it empty, and let's just call that beats. And I'm going to select that one. And I'm just going to push T to place a timing mark at each individual section where it should turn on or off depending on the window. So let me do that. Okay, so here it will be going back and forth, one window then the next, one window then the next. And I think I'll do it just white should be okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do white. So what I'm gonna do is there are some shortcuts you can use to putting effects on here. For example, if you want a down effect, you can push D and it puts this down effect automatically on. It's just an on effect with the end intensity set to 0. And that's the window all the way to the left. I don't call them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or left or middle or whatever. I have these abbreviations. It just describes which window is to that room. So now I'm just gonna put these down effects on this window and then the other one right here all the way at the other end. I'm just gonna have them switch back and forth. And then I put this one in the wrong spot, but you can use the arrow keys, the up and down arrow keys, to make it go up and down on the effects list right here. So I'll put that down. And now let's see how that looks. So that does look decent, and I think I'm going to keep that. And now I'm going to add, I'm going to go back to the other timing, and I'm going to place some timing marks for where I want the floodlight to start and stop. So about right here is where it sounds like it builds up. And then it ends right there. And it sounds like it fades off a little bit too, so I'll put a little section here for it to fade off as well. Maybe like that. And now for the floodlight, I have a group called All Floods, which is right here. And now I'm going to push the U key for up because that's also an on effect, except building up, going on. So start intensity 0 and end intensity is 100. And you can't really see them that well because this candy cane is blocking this other floodlight, but I'll zoom in a little bit. And then let's see how that looks. Oh wait, let me put the down effect at the end first. There we go. Now let's check that out. So the floodlights build up and then they fade out faster than they build up. So that looks really cool. So that sounds really good. The windows are going to end here because those bells stop and the new bells start. And let's listen to those for a second. So what I'm going to do is go into the new beats timing track and put a timing mark anytime like new bell plays. And what I'm going to do for this is it's very fast, so it's going to be really hard to be accurate. So I'm going to go up here to audio and I'm going to set it to half speed. You may not have known this, but you could change the speed of the audio so you can add stuff more precisely. So if you listen to it now, it's really slow, so now that's going to make it easier for adding timing tracks, or timing marks, I mean. And I'm not sure what I'm going to have flash yet, but I'm just going to add those timing marks. So I did half of it, and I think it sounds like the other half is the exact same. Let's listen to that. It is, there's just some other instruments or sounds going on in there. So what I could do is when I place the first effects here, I'll just copy and paste them over there so I don't have to do all these timing tracks again. So I think what would look best is if I have the candy canes flash back and forth for each one. So now when you think of candy canes, you think of red and white, I'm assuming. So if I put a down effect here, you're going to use the D key again. That's on all candy canes. So actually, I don't want that. I want to go down to the individual candy canes, which are right here. Cane 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now I added some down effects, and if you watch now, the candy canes will go. Let's see how they look. I think I'm going to put this one back down here so it bounces between the last two at the end. Let's see that. So that looks really cool for the candy canes, but the only problem is they're just white. And when you think of candy canes, like I said, you think of red and white. So we could do every other one of these red, or we could add a, I forget what they're called. You can mix the colors together. Let me show you how that looks. So let's just, if you right-click the color you want, let's say white for this instance, you could change how the colors look. So I'm going to move the white over here. And if I double, or just single-click, it'll add another color, and that's going to be black for now. But if you double click it, you could change it, and I'm going to change it to red. And now, I added this one by accident. I'm going to click that and hit delete, and I'm going to move that one over. So now it'll be like this color throughout it. So if I hit OK, and then we look at the candy cane, you can see that the candy cane is actually changing between the colors. But for this instance, I don't want it to change. I want it to be the solid color, but like half of it be red, half of it be white. So I'm going to click this little clock here, and I can click the direction of it. So if you look now, the direction of white to red is going that way. I can make it go down, can make it go left and go up. There's some other ones too you can look at, but I'm just going to leave it at down, like that. So now what I could do is hover over all of these, unclick the colors, and that changed for some reason. Oh, wrong one. This changed for some reason, but I could just add it back like that. Got the down arrow, and then I could click update, and it'll update all of these effects, and okay, that's interesting. This is new. I don't think it ever used to pop up with this thing, and just automatically change it, but yeah, so I'll click yes, and now all the colors should be updated. Let me zoom out a little bit here, restore the default viewpoint. So that looks mostly cool, but it's a little bit bland. Like, I would like it to do something else, and what effect I have in mind is the shockwave, which is right here. I'll pull that out, just put it there for now. And what I'm thinking is have like a shockwave come out through the candy cane instead of just having it fade a solid color. So I'm going to work on that for a second, and I'll show you what I get after that. So here's what I did. I took the shockwave and I moved the X of it over a little bit because it was in the center of the prop, but I want it to be near more of the stick. I changed some of the effects with the radius of it and the width. And then I also changed the color. It's set for white and red still, but I changed it back to the time. That way, as it goes on, the color changes through white to red instead of just part of it being white, the other part being red, because it looked better for this. And let me play it for you now. So this seems a lot better, I think. So I will take this and just put it across all the candy canes and all these timing marks, and I'll show you what I get with that in a second. So I've now put the shockwave effect across all of this section of timing marks. I did make a little bit of a tweak to the X and move it more to the left, but now let me show you what that looks like. So it looks a lot cooler than how it looked with just the on effect. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of these, and then I'm going to push Control-C for copy. You could also just right-click and hit copy. I think on Mac computers it's different shortcut, but on Windows it's Control-C for copy. And then I'm going to paste it onto the second half right here that sounds the same. So I'm just going to click up here and push Control-V for paste. You could also right-click and hit paste. Now let's see if that lines up okay. So it lines up okay. We don't need this last one though, it looks like. And now the next thing is, if you notice the difference between these two right here, there's more instruments and something gets added here. So I think it would only be right if we added something to the lights. So I'm going to listen to it for a second and see what I could add. I immediately first think of arches and have an effect on the arches, bounce back and forth on each individual arch. And I think I might add more, but let's see how that looks. So I'm going to grab the single strand effect, which is what works best for arches. I'm going to put it on the arches group right here. And then I'm going to bring over the layer settings section. Oh, I didn't mean for it to do that. And I'm going to select the render style to be per model default, which basically means this effect, instead of going to all of them as a whole, is going to go to each individual effect. So if I want all the arches to bounce at the same time, kind of like they are doing now, except they're in slow motion, then that would work best for per model default. And I'm going to move this out of the way. Now, I'm going to select the colors. It's still set for this white-red mix. I think it should be just white. So I'm going to go in here and select the default palette and just select white. There we go. And it looks like there's this new setting, offset. This was not here before either. I'm assuming that just means that it's just the offset of where it begins. That's actually very useful, and I've been wanting this for a while. So I'm going to keep that at 0 though, and I'm going to select the chase types. I'm going to have it bounce from left, so it's going to bounce left to right. And if I up the cycles, let's say like to 6, you'll see now they're bouncing left to right. I think it needs to be a bit more than that. Let's try 8. Let's try 7. Maybe 7.5. I think that's okay for now. And I'm going to select the chase size to be bigger, so each part of the arch is bigger. And then let's see how that looks. So it's still a little bland in this area. I'd like for a few more lights to go on, but I don't want too many because I think they're all going to go on right here. I think I'm going to have all of the mini trees do an effect. So what I'm thinking is having a spiral effect. When you put a spiral on a mega tree, let me show you how that looks, if I can get it set up right. Here's what it looks like on a mega tree, and I'm thinking just do that, but with only green for the mini trees. Let's see how that looks. So I'm going to go up to all mini trees, and then I'm going to bring back over the layer settings and select it for per model default, because I want each one to be moving as its own. Since there's not as many pixels on the tree, it's harder to see, and I think what we have to do is adjust the spiral. Yeah, something like that. That looks really nice. And let's speed it up a little bit. Let's put a little less thickness on it. Ah, now that looks cool. Okay, let's see how that looks. That looks really cool, but what I don't like is how at the beginning it just flashes right on. I want it to like fade in a little bit, so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to select the effect. It's selected. I'm going to go into layer blending and hit the in transition button. And I want it to fade in, and I'm going to select how long I want it to fade in for. So I'm going to do half a second. Let's see how that looks. And I'm going to do the same with the arches too, because I think it will look good if they're all doing it at the same time. So let's try that. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Now, obviously, if we have the mini trees going, I think we should have the stars going too. I don't think the spiral effect will look too good. I think I'm going to try a pinwheel effect on all mini tree stars. Going to bring back over layer settings. We want it to be per model default, so each one acts as its own. And I'm going to set it to yellow, because tree stars are yellow. And it looks like the thickness needs to go up a little bit, so let's thicken it up. And I think I might do just 2 arms. Yeah, okay. There's not a ton of pixels in here, so it's not going to look amazing. I think this looks good, though. Let me increase the speed. Let's see how all of it looks together now. So that looks really good. I really like that. One thing I'm going to change is I'm going to up the speed of the arches to 8, I think, so they're a little bit faster. Oh, that's amazing. It looks great. I think we should be all set for this section. Now what we just need to do is edit this part right here so something big happens and all the lights come on. So what I'm thinking right here is have something come down the entire house and all the props go right down, and then have them all flash and fade out right here. So I think all of the effects should be ending right here. So I'm going to push T on the new timing track right there. I'm going to move the twinkle pattern over there. The pinwheel effect I can move over without a problem. But now the problem is with the arches and the spiral effect. The way they work is they do a certain amount of movements in their entire length. So like the spiral effect is doing 15 movements, 15.7 across the entire thing. So if I make it smaller, it's going to move faster. So I'm going to have to decrease the time just slightly. And you'll see that with the arches too. If I decrease the time they're running, they're a little bit faster now. So I'm going to lower that to 7. I'm going to put a timing mark at the beginning too, just so I can see where they start. Let's make sure it still looks okay. One thing I noticed I forgot to do is I forgot to put a fade in on the pinwheel. So I'm going to do fade and half second, and let's see that. Looking good, okay. I don't think we need this candy cane right here to light up either. So I'm going to put a timing mark here. Here I'm going to put something that goes down. Now I don't want it to fill the whole house. I want it just like a bar to go down really fast. And what I'm thinking will work for this is the single strand effect. Let's put it on the entire display. And it's moving left to right really fast right now. If we select group all arches, I don't know why it does this, but that's what switches it to up and down. And I'm going to go right to left because that'll change it from up to down. And I think I want Christmas colors for this. So I'm gonna, let's try single colors without fading them. So like, just like that. That looks a little weird. I think what will work best is if we do the fading thing, and I'm gonna move this red one in the middle, and I'm gonna put another one at the end, double click it, put green at the end. So now I'll fade white, red, green really fast. I'm gonna add a 3D fade to it so the ending's a little bit faded, and I'm gonna make the chase size a little bit bigger. So it'll go like this. Oh, that looks good. That looks really good. And then everything flash right here. Let's just try a single down effect. And the way the colors change look a little weird, so I'm gonna go to the default and just do white. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that looks so cool. I think I'm gonna keep that for now. I'm also gonna put a down effect on the floodlights because the floodlights are not in the all house group. So now the floodlights will go. So let's see how this looks transitioning from this part right here. I really like that. And then I need to find how long this next section is so I can see what effects I'm going to do here. I think whatever it is, it's going to be something on the entire house making all the lights light up since we're now into like an upbeat part of the song. So it sounds like the section ends here, but there are some different parts in the song, like right here. So what I'm thinking in my head, because I'm trying to imagine the effects on there, is possibly the fan spinning until it gets about here. And have the shockwave explode at different points on the house. So let me put a timing mark there. So I want a fan in this section, not a pinwheel. A fan for the entire house. We gotta make the radius, the second radius, go out a bit. Yeah, like that. I'm gonna add red, white, red, white, and green. And it's going really fast right now, but I'll fix that in a second. I don't want the duration to end at the ends, because if you look at the end, it like jumps out. I'm gonna make it last the entire time. And I also don't think I want an angle on the blades. I think I want the blades to be straight, so I'm gonna set the angle to 0. Yes, just like that, okay. And then I'm gonna put the revs probably down a lot, like 1 minute. That seems a little bit too fast. Let's see how that looks. Now, I think for the beginning of this, I want it to zoom in, sort of. So, like, have a circle and then have it explode in. And I could do this with the radius. So the radius has to be set to, like, about 270 for it to cover the whole house. So if I click this little arrow right here, I can do what's called a value curve. So the value of this effect will change as it goes. So I can make it go, like, way up. I can make it go down. I can make it go down a little bit. But what I think I'm going to do is just select custom. And I'm going to bring this down to 0. And then I'm going to select right here. I want 270. Or around there will be okay. 280, that should be fine. I'll put 280 at the end. And if this is enough space, it should zoom in. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so it's getting there. I want it to do that, but it was too fast. So I think I'm going to click this and move this point farther, like maybe there. 280, let's try that. Oh, yes. That looks great. That looks really great. And I think right here, after it's over, I'm going to have it do a down effect, everything fade out, and then have explosions with the shockwave happen. So let's see how long the down effect will need to last. Think to right there. So it's going to be a quick little down effect. I'm going to leave it on white. Let's see how that looks. I think actually I'm going to have it be... I I'm going to try and do it with these colors. And I think I'm going to swap some of them around. So we're going to have it start with red. And then have green. Oh, I added too many. And then white at the end. And I forgot, you can also select some of the pre-made ones here. So I could have just selected this one like that. Hit OK. Let's see how that looks. It's a little weird. What if I'd, like, change the arrow? Ooh. Ooh, now that looks interesting. What about... Oh, okay. Let's try an up arrow. Okay, I really like that, but... It's either the up arrow or the down arrow. Ooh, there's also other options, too. It looks so good. I think I'm gonna do the up arrow, but change some of the colors. I think we should have white possibly in the middle. Let's try this. Oh, and I gotta change the arrow again. Yeah, that looks nice. Let's see how that looks. So, it jumps right into this fade out. And I don't know if I really like it, because it just cuts the fan right off. So what I think I'll do is how we had it explode at the beginning, I'll have it implode or unexplode at the end. So if I go back to this value curve, I'll just change that down there. Add a little dot there, put it like 280. Give it a little bit more time. Something like that. Let's see how that looks. The color, it looks a little weird. It just jumps right at you. I think it might be too much. Maybe if we select just one color, it might be better, like just white. I think I'll leave it like that for now. I'm also going to put on the floodlights, and I can always adjust it later. And then I'll have the shock waves right here. I'm going to put some timing marks down where they explode. So now let's grab some shock waves, and I'm going to have them go like red, green, white, or some sort of Christmas color. I'm going to want them to be pretty big radius. And I'm going to change the width. So this is what I got. I got red, green, and white. And then the red one goes at this corner. The green one goes over here. Then the white in the center. Let's see how that looks. So there's one thing I don't like about the red and the green one. They just end. They don't continue out all the way. So I think I'm going to add an out transition, a fade. Maybe with like a half a second. No, I think a quarter of a second will be better. And then let me do it on the same one right here. Now let's see how that looks. I think that looks really good. And I think it might need a few more like things on it, but I will add it later. I'm just trying to get through to about the chorus, and then sometimes what I'll do is I'll jump through and do a little bit of it, get to the middle, and then I'll come back and add more pizzazz, if you want to say, to it. So now I'm going to listen to this section and see what I should add. So I think this section is going to go until about, let's see if I can get it right there. And we're going to do something with these three booms right here. I'll come back to that later, though, because that's ahead. And then here, I think it's the snare that you hear. I want something to be flashing to that. I think what I should do is have the piece stakes all shoot down each time. And I'm going to add some other things in the back. So let me do that quickly, and then I'll come back once I have that. So I've added a bunch of timing marks. I got the single strand effect, which is what works good for the stakes. I put it on all of the stakes. And the layer settings, I have it for per model default. And then let's take a look at it, so you can see what it looks like. So it looks really good, but obviously we need a lot more lights on because it's at a bigger, louder part of the song. What I think I'll do for the mini trees is have a shockwave on each one explode every single time. It may look like I'm just using the exact same effects, but trust me, in other sequences, when I'm taking a lot more time to work on them, I use a lot more effects. In fact, I've already sequenced this entire song for the show, and I'll show you in a little bit what that looked like when I actually took the time. So let's take the shockwave. We're going to put it on all mini trees. set the render style to per model default. Christmas trees are green, so obviously I think we want green. And I think the settings are already perfect for it. And I'm also gonna push Control C and then Control V. Oh, that was on all flicks. I'm gonna paste it onto all stars. And then on the stars, I'm gonna have them yellow. Like this. They're a little bit out of sync with the trees, so I think that's because we need to increase the, or do some adjusting with the radius. And then I'm just gonna put one of these on each of these slots here. And now that we have that, let's take a look at how that looks. Now I think one thing that's missing here, is the candy canes. I think we should bring back the candy canes with what they did at the beginning with that, because they almost sound the same right here. So I'm just gonna try first and copy and paste them. I'm not sure. I don't think it will sound exactly the same or be in time perfectly, but let's take a look. Ooh, they actually kind of are. I think if I just adjust these a little bit, it'll be perfect. So I have now added the candy canes, and let's take a look at what that looks like. So obviously I think we still need more lights on, but I think that's good for everything that has a beat, and then the rest can just be like effects on the entire house. And I think actually what would be perfect is if we had a build-up. What I think would be perfect for this is if we had all the lights piling up and getting higher and higher as the beat gets closer and closer to this part. And I think this effect will be perfect for it. And if you look, let me select the colors. Something like this, but as you can see, it's covering everything else. So what we need to do is, this is how I usually do it. I don't know if there's an easier way, but what I do is I go behind the props, like after the effect, I put in a layer. So like, let's just do it with the trees first. I'm going to insert a layer below, and then I just select off. So anything that's not lit on the tree will be off. Let me do it with everything that's on. There may be an easier way, but this is the way I always do it. And then I'm going to turn off the candy canes. For that, I'm just going to go on all candy canes and just put an off effect there, and it should still work. Yep. And then I think I'm also going to keep the arches off, because they're kind of like ruining the view of that area. Not really ruining. And then red, white, and green looks a little weird because it's all red, white, and green everywhere. So I'm going to just choose every single color, like rainbow, and see how that looks. Now that looks really cool. Let's take a look at it. I think that's going to be perfect. It looks so cool right here. And then the next thing we need to do is get these three things to do something. These three explosion sounds. And what I'm thinking is taking another single strand effect, but having it go left to right to left, then left to right for each one. So let me put some timing tracks down, or timing effects. I'm going to take the single strand, put it there. Think I'm going to have it go white, then red, then green, or something like that. So I'm going to add a 3D fade, make the chase size bigger. Probably like that. Then add another one. This one's going to go right to left with red. And then the other one's going to go left to right with green. So let's see how that looks. I think we need to get it to fade out at the end, right here, for like a quick second. So I'm going to add a fade onto this. And these ones don't really need a fade because they don't go all the way to the end. So I think that should just be okay. Oh, that looks perfect. So this looks amazing for all of this. And I think for keeping the video short, because I don't want this to be an hour-long video, I'm going to stop here with what I have done with the sequence, and I'm going to go show you what I've already programmed for this sequence for the light show. But first, I'm going to show you what we've put together with just this. Let me play that. So that's what we got done. In this little bit of time, I don't know how long the video's at so far, but I've been recording for almost an hour. So it took me an hour just to do this. But now I'm going to save this and I'm going to open what the actual sequence looks like that I programmed and point out different things that I did in there. So if you look at this, there's a lot of effects because I finished the whole thing. But if you watch, I'm going to play the first like 30 or 40 seconds of this too, so you can see the difference of taking more time on it. But I use a lot of the same effects, just they're more tweaked. It's basically the same. All I did is, let me bring back in the house view. For this part, I kept the candy canes going. You can still see them going. And then for this part, I added some sparkles into the explosion. So it's basically the same, like I said for a million times, just tweaked more. And then I'm going to go on and show you a little bit more of the chorus so you can see how that looks, and I'll tell you my thought process for how I put that together. So what you'll notice a lot of, especially right in the main chorus part, I used a lot of layers and different layer settings. For example, right here, I had a little bit of I had another shockwave, and I made all the other effects move with the shockwave. Then this one I had a curtain come down and then come up again. And then this one is my favorite right here for this transition. I had a spiral go. I can't really explain it, but let me just show it to you. And then I transitioned everything going back the other direction. And then right here, I just had all the colors flash. So usually what I try and do in the chorus of upbeat songs like this is I try to find a different effect. Usually this is how I do it for every different prop. Sometimes groups or the entire house will be doing the same thing. But like, I have, this stands for, this group is the house face, the roof, and the garage. They're all doing a butterfly effect. While the mini trees have a spiral, the mini tree stars have a pinwheel, the stakes have a wave going across them, the floodlights are fading, candy canes are moving back and forth, and then arches doing their own thing. And then I have all the snowflakes on their own pinwheel too. And then in the middle, I slowed it down a little bit, or not really slowed down, but stopped changing the effects. I just used the same effects so everyone who was going crazy from watching these other effects can take a breather to see it. If that makes sense. I'm not really sure if that makes sense, but... So it's just the same thing, bouncing back and forth. And then most songs go back to a calm part, so I have the twinkles come back, the candy canes start up here. And then sometimes what I do, depending on the song, is for the second chorus or anything near the end, sometimes I add more color, more sparkles, more rainbow to it. So like for example, let me find the part. This is the second chorus, it's doing this again, but afterward, it goes back to that and then it goes all to rainbow, and let me show you that. Now, I don't like to do that too often because I feel like that's a really cool effect, and if you've seen all my other light shows, usually at the end is when I have everything go all rainbow, the final song in the grand finale, because it just looks really cool. And I want everyone to leave with like that awesome rainbow picture in their head. The only reason why I actually added rainbow into this at the end was I thought this was going to be the intro song, so I wanted to make the intro really cool. But I think I'm changing that. And when you saw me putting together the other part, you may have thought that I picked all of those effects out, but I go through a lot of effects, changing them, doing different effects. The only reason I picked those ones immediately was because I programmed this song already and knew what looked best. But it can take a lot of hours and switching back and forth between effects to find what's the best. Now, even if your sequence isn't as good as this, or maybe it's better, no matter what, everyone who comes to the show is going to like it because it's just amazing seeing all the lights twinkle. And if you don't want to spend all these hours doing this, and I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes, there are other ways that you can make the sequence still look cool. Just program it a little faster, like use whole house effects more often instead of programming each element. But this is going to conclude this section of the video, how I sequence a song. Hopefully you were able to find some tips out of this for sequencing your own song. But now I'm going to move on to how you can program a song quickly within a few hours instead of spending days. And if you want to skip this part, go to this time in the video to see everything else. So now I'm going to show you the 2 easiest ways to make a sequence super quickly if you don't want to spend a lot of time on it. And the first way is using the Xlights Create Random Effects feature. So if you right click, you'll notice that you can create random effects. You can't click it right now because I'm not clicking on any timing areas. But if you lay down some timing tracks of where you'd like effects to start and stop, Xlights will automatically generate effects for you and put them in. So let's just find some different sections of the song and split them up where effects should start and stop. So I've gone and laid out some different sections in the song. And now what you would do is you would first go up to File, and then Preferences, and then you want to go to Random Effects here. And now right here, you could select the different effects you want that could be used with the random. So obviously off and on aren't really good options because they're just off and on. But these other effects they have automatically selected usually work out great. If you have certain effects you know you don't like, or other ones that you like, but they don't include, then you can select those. For example, like, they don't have the video selected, because the only way to get that to work is if you import or select a file for a video, and like text, you have to enter text. And now, the next thing you can do when you're ready to create your random effects, up here you'll notice in the Colors tab, there are these little locks under here. What you could do is if you lock this, that means that, the Create Random Effects cannot change this. So if you have this selected, it must include the color yellow. If you have it unselected, it cannot include the color yellow because it's locked. You can also go through each effect if you want to lock certain values, but that's really a pain and defeats the purpose, and you might as well just spend days sequencing instead of going through all the effects and locking them. And then what you do is highlight the props and sections where you want the random effects. So I'm going to highlight the entire display. You could highlight each and every prop, but then it's just going to look pure chaotic, and I don't recommend that. You could also select certain groups maybe, so like if you want the top to be its own effect, the bottom, and then like whatever. Then once you have this selected, you're going to hit Create Random Effects, and you're going to let the magic work. It could take a long time if you have a lot selected, but as you can see, it did it pretty fast. So let's see what it made and how it looks. I'm gonna admit, it's not good at all. It doesn't look that good, but it's just putting random effects. So, like this one, it doesn't even move. This one, it's black right there. There are some other parts, though, where it looks good. So now what you could do after this is you could delete any of the effects that don't work well or that you don't like. And then you could either take the effects you do like, put them in that place, or have it create random effects again. But I'm going to tell you this way, it's not really going to do much of anything good. Not unless Xlights finds a way to include ChatGPT that could somehow know how to create effects in Xlights. It's not going to look good when you're doing it randomly. So Create Random Effects could find you good new effects that you've never tried before that might work well, but in the end, it's not going to make a good sequence. So if you're willing to spend a little bit more time, what I would recommend is doing the same thing where you put all the timing tracks down for different sections, and then trying out different effects, but just use them in the entire display. So if you give me 5 minutes, I'm going to program half this song and show you what it looked like. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes and I was able to create a minute 10 of this song, and it doesn't look absolutely horrible. It's way better than Create Random Effects, and let me show you what it looks like. So it's not terrible, and maybe if you're willing to spend even a few hours for 1 week and work on this, you can make it look very decent. Now obviously it's not going to look amazing like this, but if it's just too challenging or you don't have the time to spend into programming sequences like that, you can do it way faster using entire displays or just using groups instead of programming each model. You can look back at my old sequences, and some of them I only took 2 days on, and they still looked decently well back in 2020 when I didn't have that many lights. But now, if you're gonna have a show that's the size of mine, it is a little bit of a waste to have all these pixels and not spend time programming them. So if you don't want to program a lot and you haven't bought lights yet, I wouldn't recommend buying hundreds of thousands, because it just kind of feels like a waste to not use them to their full potential. But for smaller shows, this is a really good way to get it done quickly and efficiently. So that is how I program my sequences in Xlights, and that is also how you can make one very quickly if you don't want to spend hours or days or weeks or months working on it. I hope you were able to find at least a few tips out of this video that you can use for your sequencing to make it easier or to make your sequences look cooler. If you weren't able to find any of this useful, then let me know in the comments down below what's something I left out, or what's something you personally do for sequencing do you think everyone should know about. I'm thinking of making a few more Xlights videos, like redoing the full Xlights tutorial, or making videos talking about individual subjects in Xlights. So if you have anything you'd like to see, let me know in the comments below. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.